Uh, hello everyone, and I hope that now people are joining us. I can see that the number of participants is increasing every second. Welcome to the first webinar about e-residency for e-residents and entrepreneurs from Latvia. Latvia is actually a very important target market for e-residency. Latvian e-residents have established more than 300 companies by today, and the Latvian e-residents who have established companies are actually by far the most active ones who run business in Estonia in the most active way. So in today's webinar, we will have very distinguished guests actually. So our webinar is supported by the Estonian Embassy in Riga. So we will have a welcome speech by His Excellency Mr. Arti Hilpus live from Riga, as well as Signe Millere from the Estonian Embassy in Riga. After that, we will also have a presentation by myself about e-residency. Then we will have Tõnis Jõgeva from One Office present the legal and tax aspects of running a company paperlessly through an Estonian e-residency. And then, of course, maybe one of the most important presentations also is the presentation by our e-resident, Valdemars Bredikis, from Linearis Translations, which is a Latvian company, which has a subsidiary also in Estonia, which is run by e-residency ID card. So, but without further ado, I would like to give words to the ambassador of Estonia in Riga, Mr. Arti Hilpus, and also Signe Millere from the Estonian Embassy in Riga.
So, hello everyone. I see probably Arti is not at the moment here, so I will start. My name is Signe, and I am working as business advisor in Estonian Embassy. And today we will speak how Latvian companies can invest and how to grow in Estonian market. There are always good cooperation between Estonian and Latvian businessmen, and also we are so close in neighbor countries that the business environment, the cooperation and export and import. Yes.
May I actually tell you that I think that Arti is here, but we just had him on mute. That I think that Arti can make his entrance when he unmutes. All right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, sorry for that small confusion. I hope you can now hear me as well. Then I had really to use the keyboard to switch the mic on. Welcome also from my part at this first e-residency seminar or webinar that is organized by our embassy. It is a very important initiative. I thank all the participants. I can also see from the screen that there are already 34 people who have registered for the event. And it is a very good result, good beginning already for our project, because as we know, there is quite a big amount of different web events, and people might already grow tired about following all of them. But on the other hand, it is also due to the actual situation with the COVID virus in Estonia, in Latvia, due to the travel restrictions and other obstacles which would not enable us to do our work in a fully normal way. But still, it is time to move forward with interaction with our existing e-residents in Latvia. As it was already mentioned by Jan, there are almost 2,000 e-residents in Latvia who have registered for this opportunity so far, and they have created already more than 300 companies in Estonia. In Latvia, this project of e-residency has been definitely a success story. The participation has been very active on behalf of the Latvian population, but also other business people who are resident in Latvia. And from the embassy's point of view, I can just assure that it is one of the most important aspects or work destination of our consulate to review the applications for e-residency and to issue the e-resident cards and respective data. And since the project has already been lasted since 2014, it is also more and more important to renew all the credentials. And all in all, activities, procedures related to the residency amount to some 40% of the workload of our consulate, which is really important part of our daily work. One of the major objectives, obviously, for the e-residency program in Estonia, why it was initiated, was to facilitate the establishment of companies for foreign investors in Estonia and to bring eventually new investments to Estonia. This is still a very, very valid objective, and we hope that also today's webinar will, at least in the eyes of some participants, inspire some new ideas how to establish new entrepreneurship projects in Estonia. And a good trend is also in Latvia that during the first half of this year, or in other words, during the recent months, there has been quite a significant growth of companies established by the e-residents from Latvia as well. And that's why it is also, for me personally, very interesting to follow how today's webinar develops. What are the comments and reactions, and your feedback is important for us. And I'm absolutely confident that when the situation normalizes, then sooner or later there will be also a moment when we can organize a real physical or face-to-face event for interaction with our e-residents in Latvia, as actually was the plan also this time, but before that respective medical statistics in Baltic countries started to climb up. It was not doable this time, but we will definitely gather some new ideas and recommendations what we can address next time. And once more, I would like to acknowledge all those who have initiated this today's video conference event, and wish you good conversations and great success. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Harti, Mr. Ambassador. So thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And I think that next we have Signe Miller, who will talk about the support also of the Estonian Embassy in Riga for e-residents.
Yes, hi again. So as I mentioned, I'm business and investment advisor here at Embassy. I'm Latvian, so after the webinar, if someone have additional questions, you can ask me also in Latvian. But as we have also participants from other countries, so I will speak English. I will show a very short presentation regarding how Latvian people and Latvian companies have invest in Estonian market and grow their activities and grow their business in Estonian market. Some small tips and tricks. So I'm preparing my presentation. So as I said that we want Latvian companies to do business in Estonia, to grow their business in Estonian market. So you can apply for e-residency, which Jan will tell you later how to do this if you still don't have this e-residency card. But after the application and when you already are e-resident, or even if you are Latvian company, maybe you need to know where you can find appropriate information about Estonian most common companies, institutions, and web pages, for example. So I put here useful links and some databases. This presentation will be available also after the webinar. So similar, like in Latvia, we have Lursoft, where you can find all about each company in Latvia. The same database in Estonia is e-Creditinfo, where you can find all information, all registers of Estonian companies. And also two major players in Estonia are Enterprise Estonia and Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Estonia, where you can also look for advices, for connections, and also it can help you to do some research in the market. Then there are also two more links, like we have in Latvia Altum, which is financial institution. The same company or institution in Estonia is Credex, where you can also find information about some credits and financial help. Also in Enterprise Estonia, they provide some grants and other services to grow Estonian companies. So I think later on you can also search in this webpage to see more how can you get support from Estonian government when you are already an Estonian company. And how to find a potential partners in Estonia. There is also a very good startup community called Startup Estonia. You can find partners or clients from this industry. Also the webpage Invest in Estonia, which is also e-residency, this home institution. And there are also different associations and clusters in Estonia. There is a link where you can find, depending of your industry, whether it's food industry or IT industry, you can connect with these associations and also look for some partners and cooperation there. Then, yes, at this moment, maybe it's a little bit complicated regarding traveling, but also a good activity are trade fairs, and there is a list of upcoming trade fairs in Estonia, and also a calendar where you can find another activities regarding these exhibitions and trade fairs in Estonia. So this is very, very quick remarks from my side. This presentation will be available later on, and I will be happy to answer your questions in question and answer part. And then maybe after other presentations, you have more detailed questions regarding these possibilities in Estonian market. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Signe, for a very concise and good presentation. So as Signe said, in fact, I have to go to the door. This is unexpected, but this was mine. So Signe, you can fill this gap.
Yes, I'm still here. So yes, as Jan said, maybe it's very quick and first steps in Estonian market, but during the other presentations, you will have possibility to know how actually to register as an e-resident and what activities or what benefits it's provide, and then the real experience of Latvian company who already do business in Estonia. But if you are already an e-resident, so some additional information maybe as well, how to find new partners and how to grow your business.
So, Signe, thank you so much for filling the gap. And this was actually the doorbell. So this was the one thing that always during the webinars you hope that will not happen. But this time I think that I had some guests. But in any case, as Signe already discussed with you, that in fact the Latvian e-residents are the ones who are actually doing very actively business in Estonia with different cooperation partners. Latvians are the closest neighbors to us geographically, and if most of the e-residents who we have from all over the world use e-residency basically for totally remote business, for basically the reason that they don't have to travel to Estonia at all in order to do business. So I think that Latvians are quite often also investing in Estonia, and they can easily come to Estonia. You can easily come to Estonia, but you can also use the e-residency ID card in order to do the everyday signatures and everyday business online, so that you do not have to come. But in any case, without further introduction, I will share a presentation with you. So today I want to talk to you about e-Estonia as a gateway for business without borders. So e-residency, business without borders. My name is Jaan Heinso. I am the head of new markets at e-Residency. So Estonia, you know very well Estonia. Estonia is your northern neighbor, but Estonia is also a Baltic country, just as Latvia, but we are also Nordic country. I think that Latvia is also considered a Nordic country, but Estonia is very immersed in Scandinavian business culture. Estonia also has a world-class business environment. So I will show you a couple of rankings that would probably convince you that Estonia is really one of the top business-friendly business environments in the world, in EU and among OECD countries, definitely. Estonia is also a home for global startups, including Skype. But I will show you a few more Estonian startups that you might recognize. And of course, e-Estonia. E-Estonia is the first and most advanced digital society in the world. So what about the world-class business environment? So in terms of tax competitiveness, the International Tax Competitiveness Index, Estonia has been #1 already, 6th year in a row. So Estonia has been considered the best tax system, the most competitive tax system in the world by the Tax Foundation. Also, in terms of digital economy and society index, the subsection of digital public services in the EU, European Commission has granted Estonia the first place in digital public services. So it takes just 20 minutes to establish a company. 24/7 you can establish and manage your business fully online. So there is 0% corporate income tax on reinvested profits. I will tell you about this a little bit later in the next slide. But we have had this, I think, that for the longest time, since the 1st of January 2000. So this was, Estonia was a pioneer in terms of incorporating this tax system of 0% corporate income tax on reinvested profits. So yes, there is easy access to Scandinavian markets. And I believe that it is better access to Scandinavian markets than any other country, even including the Scandinavian countries, because in Estonia, people tend to speak Scandinavian languages. So quite a lot, you can find actually people who can help you with the languages. we are quite immersed in the culture, and of course the cost efficiency and the taxes make Estonia probably a better place to incorporate within the Scandinavian markets than the other Scandinavian countries. There is no bureaucracy. Basically, you can skip bureaucracy because if you have this digital ID card, everything can be done online. So you don't have to go from one organization to another with papers. You do everything online. So, as promised, Estonian startups that have become unicorns. Probably all of you know what a unicorn means. A unicorn is a startup company that is valued over $1 billion US. So after Skype, everybody understood that everything is possible, that you can establish a startup that grows and reaches the unicorn status. So of course, most of you know Bolt. Most of you have used Bolt. You know TransferWise. So TransferWise is one of the most successful fintech companies right now on the international market. Some of you probably know Playtech, but less, because this is a platform for international online gaming. About the tax system. So Tõnis Jõgeva will talk a little bit more about the taxes in Estonia, but I will just make a short introduction. So corporate income tax 0% on reinvested profits. So unless you take your dividends, you distribute your profits, your corporate income tax will be 0. So you can plan your corporate income tax. So as I have heard, Latvia is taking now the same approach, but we have had this system in place for 20 years, and it really has worked really well in Estonia. So we have found that actually people pay more taxes. They pay taxes much better when these taxes are on such business-friendly level. So corporate income tax on distributed profits is 20% from the gross amount. And if you do it regularly, so from the third year, you can have 14% corporate income tax on distributed profits. On sales, so VAT is also 20%. If sales exceed 40,000 euros per year, you have to register as a VAT payer. But maybe Tõnis will talk about this, maybe not. We can also ask this from Voldemar. What is the difference between paying the VAT in Estonia and paying the VAT in Latvia? So in Estonia, all of the taxes are actually paid to one single account in the tax board. As I understood actually from a couple of meetings with e-residents from Latvia, in Latvia there are several accounts where you transfer your taxes, and they don't equalize themselves. So you have to pay one tax to one and the other tax to another. So one can be in the plus and the other can be in a minus. In Estonia, pay everything to one account. And how technically how it is and how easy and how favorable it is actually to work with this VAT, I think that we can ask from Tõnis later. Payroll. So the payroll taxes, of course, we are a Nordic country. So compared to other Nordic countries, the taxes on salaries are actually quite good. Yeah, so 33% social security tax. So if you want to have also Estonian social benefits, then it's good to pay this 33%. And 20% is the personal income tax. So in Estonia, when you pay the corporate income tax on distributed profits, the Estonian residents at least, they don't have to pay before the 0% corporate income tax. So you don't have to pay before, and also you don't have to pay the personal income tax after. So you just pay this 20% corporate income tax on distributed profits. So no personal income tax and no corporate income tax either if you take your dividends. Definitely business-friendly approach. So it was meant for growing businesses. So it means that if you put your money back into your company and you don't distribute your profits, then you can grow and grow your company with this money, and the government doesn't take tax from there. Easy administration. So definitely we have had some pretty good feedback also from Latvian entrepreneurs in terms of how easy it has been for them to administer the taxes of their Estonian subsidiaries. Everything can be declared on the e-tax and e-customs board. So, and we have the lowest government debt in Europe, basically. So there is no pressure to raise these taxes. So what is e-Estonia? 98% of the companies are established online. So since 2009, when it was first possible to establish a company online, everyone is actually doing it online now. So basically, maybe some people have a reason to go to the notary and do it in the old-fashioned way, but almost everyone does it online. 99% of banking also done online. I'm sure it's the same in Latvia, but also in Estonia. Estonia, by the way, was one of the pioneers of online banking in the 1990s. 95% of tax declarations are, of course, filed online because it is really easy for a physical person. You don't even have to fill your tax declaration. It is already pre-filled. So what you do, you just check if all the information is correct. Maybe you want to add something and you press enter. So it usually takes a minute, like literally 1 minute to file your declare your taxes as a physical person. So before 2014, we always told everyone in the world, all the investors, all the entrepreneurs, how easy it is to run a business in Estonia through the online e-services. But of course, you had to have an ID card for that. So, but since 2014, December, now almost 6 years, everyone in the world can actually use the Estonian e-services through the e-Residency ID card. Maybe a couple of words about the principles of e-Estonia and e-services. So one of the main principles is the once only principle. It means that you give your information to the Estonian government authorities only once. So when you give this information, for example, to the population registry, then the same information will be asked from the population registry by the other organizations, but it will not be asked from you. They will ask it from each other, but you own this data. So citizens, residents, e-residents, everybody own their own data, which is kept on these databases. So if anyone breaches this data, you will always know. You can always see who has accessed your data. There is a ledger that only you can see who has ever accessed your data. And if you're not happy with that, you think that this was not really the right thing for example, for a policeman to check your data, then you can make an inquiry. Why did this happen? If you're not happy with that, well, then it's a problem for them. So Estonians have always trusted e-solutions. Basically, I would say that Estonians trusted the e-solutions already before there were any e-solutions, because everything led to these e-solutions. The goals were to have maximum transparency, to have very low corruption, very low opportunities for corruption, very low bureaucracy, maximum ease of doing business. So all of this can best be achieved by e-solutions. 99% of services are online. So basically, digital by default means that first, all of the services, the public services, are made in a digital form. And then, if necessary, they will be also in the traditional physical form. But first, they're always digital. So, okay, this is our office, actually. This is President Kersti Kaljulaid in the middle, together with our managing director, Ott Vatter, in our e-residency office. So, Estonia. E-Estonia is the first digital society. So basically, the governance, life and business, everything has been basically redefined by using the e-services. So now only marriage and divorce are still the two things that cannot be done online. recently we told that there are three things, that also the real estate transactions have to be done at the notary, but now there is e-notary, so you can always you can also do the real estate transactions online actually. So it leaves only marriage and divorce. But I think that we are not ready yet to get married or especially divorced just by pressing enter or clicking your mouse. It's too much risk that you will later regret this. So you better do this when you're sober, when you're not angry, so that you plan it well ahead and go to the special authorities to get married or divorced. So these are the two things that technically we've been ready for a long time, but morally I think that it takes a little bit more time. So this is the actual timeline. So I don't want to bore you with a history lesson because not too much time also for that, but since 1997 or even 1995, Estonia has been pioneering online banking, also e-governance. So in 1997, the piles of paper in the government were exchanged for computers. So now, of course, everything is done online in the government. But online banking, this is a very important first milestone actually. So online banking, e-tax board, and population registry were the first three databases and services that were actually transformed into a digital form. And then they created the X-Road in 2001, 19 years ago, in order for these three databases to actually communicate to each other, so that you don't have to give to them separately information to the bank, take the information on a piece of paper with a stamp from the bank to the tax board, take something from the population registry to the tax board, or the contrary. These three databases started to communicate between each other first through the X-Road. So after that, actually more than 1,000 databases have been added to the X-Road in Estonia. So as you know, Estonia is a small country, so 1,000 databases connected through the X-Road. That's quite a lot. And in fact, they communicate between each other over 1 million times per day. So about 1.5 million times per day, these databases exchange information between each other. And of course, in order to access all of this, we needed a digital ID card. So basically, the digital ID card that we have since 2001 is very similar to the digital ID card that, for example, Voldemars has as an e-resident, except for the one big difference. So the ID card of an Estonian resident, it has a picture on it. And the e-resident ID card doesn't have to have a picture on it because it's meant for digital use only. We will come back to that later. So 2005. So it seems like yesterday, but actually 2005, already 15 years ago, we started voting online. So national voting, internet voting, public safety. So basically all the police is always connected. So they don't stop you. They don't have to. You don't have to take your license, for example, with you, driver's license, because everything is on the ID card. Basically, even if you don't have the ID card, then they can check if everything is correct with you. And they stop only, for example, if your car doesn't have insurance or inspection. But other than that, if everything is fine, they just scan the license plate and they don't stop you for nothing. So also in 2007, there was actually a data breach, cyber attack on the Estonian e-government systems. So after that, we put a lot of effort in that. It never happens again. And all of the systems are now running on principles similar to blockchain, basically blockchain principles. E-health, also since 2008, you call your doctor. If the doctor understands what's wrong with you, you just go down to the pharmacy and you get your medicine without visiting the doctor. But the most important thing, of course, in 2009, online company registration. So Estonians have, the residents in Estonia have registered companies online for more than 10 years, 11 years. And since 2014, everybody in the world can actually register an Estonian company fully online and also run it fully online. So now I think that we can go to the e-residency topics. Well, 3,000 digital services. I don't want to list all the 3,000, but everything is digital. About 1,500 are the public services, and about another 1,500 are the private e-services available. So all of these people. So who are they? What do these people have in common? So I think that you recognize many of them. One of them is actually present in this webinar today, so maybe you recognize also him. So on the top left, we have Angela Merkel. So Angela from Germany. Bottom left, Bill from the US. Shinzo from Japan. Shinzo Abe is the Prime Minister of Japan. Pope Francis. So on the left also you can see the team of Emre from Turkey. You can see the team of Ian. You can see Xenia from Moscow, and on the bottom you can actually see Voldemars Bredikas. So what does Voldemars have in common with all of these people? So basically Voldemars has an e-residency kit, correct? So everybody is an e-resident on this slide. So what is e-residency? So e-residency is actually a government-issued digital identity which provides non-residents, actually everybody in the world, an Estonian digital ID card. It is a status provided by the Estonian government. And with e-residency, you can establish a location-independent EU company, access the Estonian e-services, and run your business fully remotely. So I will talk about this a little bit more now. This makes Estonia actually the easiest place to start and manage a global business online. So I'm sure that in Latvia, it's also quite easy to manage a global business. But with the Estonian e-residency ID card, I think it is on the best, very best level in the world. All the e-services and everything that we have developed for already 20 years and more are now on such a level that it makes Estonia the easiest place to manage your global business online. So for whom is it? It's definitely for any startup founders who want to go global. So it makes it more easy to run a business without borders. Location independent business owners. So if you want to run a business and actually live in Bali, nobody knows where you are actually located. You run your business, your Estonian business, fully from your computer, wherever you are. So definitely entrepreneurs who are going for new markets makes international expansion easier, as mentioned before. Highly mobile entrepreneurs. If you have to move around the world all the time, you have to fly around, then it's great to have your company with you in your computer. And of course, freelance professionals. So freelance professionals from all over the world are actually becoming also e-residents. But why? So I think that some of these points repeat what I've said before, but in order to establish and manage a company in a trusted, business-friendly jurisdiction of Estonia fully online, do business remotely by securely accessing a full range of easy-to-use e-services in Estonia. Of course, conduct all your banking, declare the taxes, use the legally binding digital signature, so everything is official, everything is easy to use, and everything can be really well trusted. And of course, quite many e-residents have become e-residents and found out that the community of e-residents is also quite important and close. So you always have to, have the opportunity to ask questions. If you go, for example, you want to do business in Brazil, you don't know anyone in Brazil. But then you remember that actually there are lots of e-residents also in Brazil, and you have something in common with them. So you can ask anything from e-residents in other countries, also through the e-residents communities on Facebook, on other social media. So basically what we have is 70,000, more than 70,000 e-residents now from basically all of the countries in the world, from 174 countries. 13,500 companies. We have crossed the line of 13,500 companies established and run fully by e-residents. We have more than 2,000 Estonian e-residents now from Latvia who have established 300 plus companies now. They establish and run the companies fully with their e-residency cards. So what is also quite important, I think what I want to stress is that the Latvian e-residents have the #1 highest activity rate. So I'm not going to go into numbers, but the vast majority of e-residents who have established their companies in Estonia, they don't just keep their companies dormant. So all of these companies are actually used. So you can see from the statistics that the Latvians are really making profits, really making real business with their Estonian companies. And of course, many of them have also invested in Estonia and found that it is really easy to manage their companies through e-residency card. Just a couple of testimonials. I think that Voldemars will give first-hand view about how to use e-residency and how it has benefited him. But here are some other people. Arzu, for example, is from Turkey. So Arzu is a tourism professional and founder of a company called Walks in Europe. So basically, her company, well, I know her personally, and her company was almost bankrupt before she could she became an e-resident, and the explosion of growth that she had through e-residency was such that she started to become a platform player. Before she was just a small player, but now she has 200 people who are actually on her platform doing well, basically what she did before, tours in big cities in Europe. So people in Estonia can benefit from the most advanced digital society in the world. And now people outside of Estonia can also take advantage of the world's first transnational digital identity, which is e-residency. So another e-resident, Andri. I think that Andri is most famous for his comment that true business class is when you don't need to travel at all to do business worldwide. So this is definitely very important right now during the challenging times when you can't travel, when you have to stay at home. So e-residency can also help you to stay at home and not interrupt your business. So I'm not going to go into too many details, but in order to get started with e-residency and to do a business with e-residency, first you submit an application online, you pay a state fee, so 100 to 120 euros. You get your ID card in about 6 weeks. In 1.5 months, probably you will get your ID card. It takes on average from 4 to 6 weeks to get the ID card. So choose your service provider. So definitely one of the recommended service providers is One Office. So Dennis will tell about One Office a little bit later. But there are lots of others that we can recommend because we know them very well. These service providers are all licensed and all have very good feedback from e-residents. So yeah, Dennis will tell about their costs, for example. One Office is one of the average cost service providers and one of the best ones. So register your company in Estonia. You can do it yourself. So basically, it's so easy that you can just log on. Some people spend maybe the whole day thinking of the name of their company. What am I going to name my company? But if you know the name, then 20 minutes, and it costs 190 euros. But of course, if you are going to choose a service provider, then you can also ask the service provider to help you to establish your company. It is, I don't think it costs much to ask for this help because it's very easy. Then apply for business banking. Usually we say that find a fintech partner, but I think that in terms of e-residents from Latvia, this is much easier. We have much the same banks in Latvia and Estonia, so that you can have actually a bank account in your own Swedbank, for example. It's very easy. And of course, participate in the community. So participating in the community gives you a lot of benefits also. So it's valid for 5 years. PIN codes, digital ID card, the smart card reader, everything is in your kit. So download all of the software, use id.ee for any information and help on how to use your ID card. Basically, whatever is applicable to the Estonian ID card with the picture, it's also applicable to the e-Residency ID card. But the only difference is that it is not a picture ID. It is an ID which you can use digitally. Marketplace. So this is how it looks. All of the licensed and verified service providers are there. You have to have a contact person in Estonia. So this is one thing you need to have: contact person and legal address. But this contact person, it doesn't have to be a physical person, nor is it a local director. So it is not someone who can make any decisions. It is just a contact person, so that the information that you have to receive from your from the government, for example, someone is here to receive it if you don't answer emails, for example. So you can change, you can find a service provider that you like right now. So and if you want to try another one, then you can change. So here you can see both Solo, One Office, and all the other popular choices. And banking. So I think that in the case of Latvian e-residents, for example, we don't have to stop with on this slide. If we are talking about banking with e-residents from outside of the EU, then this is one of the most difficult points. But in terms of Latvia, as mentioned, you can even have your Estonian bank account for your Estonian company in a Latvian bank, not even in Estonian bank. But of course, you can have also a Swedbank account much more easily because they know you already from Latvia. So we will not stop too much on this. So you can find out everything you need about e-residency actually on our website. So we have designed our website so that you can find all the answers to the questions. There is a business guide, especially for e-residents, that we made together with the PricewaterhouseCoopers. There is a knowledge base, questions regarding any aspect of running your business through e-residency. And there is a blog which gives you news and tips about e-residency and how to do business globally through e-residency. If you have any questions, then hopefully you will find the answer on the website. But of course, we also have the support email. So you can write to eresident@gov.ee and ask the questions. So thank you from my side. So I hope I didn't bore you with the details. Paldies, I hope this is correct. And next, I will give floor to Tõnis Jõgeva from One Office. Tõnis will introduce himself and do a presentation. So thank you from my side. And later we'll have a questions and answers session actually. So if you want to ask any questions, please write them in this Q&A box in the Zoom platform. Rather not the chat box, but the Q&A box, and then we will take your questions one by one later. But Tõnis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jan, so much. Really thorough presentation. Obviously, some of our slides overlap, but I figured that I will slide over them quickly anyway, and maybe focus more on actually grading the company and then also on taxes. Which is obviously a really important topic and actually a really complicated topic. So I will do the best I can. So just a moment, I will share my screen. So let me go in the beginning. Hopefully you can see my screen and the slides. Just a moment. Okay, seems to be working. So, my name is Tõnis Jõgeva. I work for One Office in Estonia. I'm mainly a sales manager, but I also quite often represent the company and do this kind of webinars, and I'm in charge in different projects. So yeah, enough about me. Already we know what the e-residency is. Thank you, Jan, for that. I'll just go over to the next slide and maybe focus a little bit on something that e-residency is not, because as a service provider, we often get questions about traveling to Estonia or to EU. Clients ask about visas and residence permits. So just wanted to let everybody know that e-residency itself is not a travel document or doesn't grant any visas in Estonia automatically. If you have a business in Estonia, there are some options to get the residence permit or visa in more simplified way. But yeah, this is for someone who is not from Latvia. Latvia is in EU, and you can always move to Estonia if you want to do that. And this relates to your tax residency, which I will go into more details later in the slides. So what are the aspects to consider if you do want to open a company in Estonia? First and foremost, do your research. Think about your business plan and the model, how you want to set it up. Ask information from the e-residency Facebook, from e-residency. Ask guidance from the service providers like one-off. Make sure what are your obligations to have opened the company, what kind of taxes you have to pay and where you have to pay. Also, depending on your business activity or field of activity, there might be other requirements that you have to fill. So yeah, just do the research and ask us for help, or e-residency team for help, or fellow e-residents for guidance. Then again, as Jan mentioned, company name. Some clients are really fixed on it. They want to have the specific name, but obviously some company names are already taken in Estonia and others might be trademark protected in EU. So we recommend to have at least 3 names that you are willing to use for your company, just so you wouldn't have to waste a lot of time once you are ready to proceed. And then there's the share capital amount. Maybe it's not that big of a detail, but there is a share capital that you have to mark down once you register the company. The minimum is 2,500 euros, but you don't have to pay it in immediately, so you can defer that payment. Also, your responsibilities if you have this Estonian company. Jan also mentioned that you will have to have a contact person in Estonia. This is in case if your company's management board will be located outside of Estonia. And usually quite often service providers like one office offer the contact person together with the legal address. So you will have your local address here in Estonia, and also a service provider will take care of this contact person part, which usually means in practice that we will maybe get some of your governmental emails and we have to just forward them to you or make sure that you have those notifications from government. Then the other big, so yes, the contact person and legal address, you will have to have this in Estonia at all times. You have to renew the service, or you have to relocate your business to another address in Estonia. You always have to have a local address in Estonia. The other big thing or responsibility you have is to submit the financial report. And this is done once a year. If your financial year has ended, you have 6 months to submit the report. And again, different accounting companies, also us, many companies can help you to submit this annual report. Regarding monthly accounting itself, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. You are not obligated to do it. But there is a thing to consider that if you have not done any of your monthly accounting, then the annual report fee will quite often be higher because the accounting company has to review all of your transactions of the year, and then just that takes time, and hence the cost might be higher. But you do have to have monthly accounting if you decide to have employees from Estonia, or if you decide to apply for an Estonian VAT number. Jan also mentioned about the VAT. So yeah, if your turnover exceeds 40,000 euros in Estonia, you have to apply for the number. Before that, it's optional, but you can, right after the company has been registered, you can actually apply for the number as well, if you want to get the benefit of having this VAT number. Share capital contribution, I already mentioned that. Yes, you have to mark it down. The minimum is 2,500 euros, but you can defer the payment as long as you want. We usually recommend our clients to do it within the first business year, because if you have paid the share capital and you have submitted your first annual report, then you can actually take out the dividends or the profits from the company for the shareholders. So yeah, those are the two requirements to get out the dividends. So definitely at some point it makes sense to pay the share capital. And then a big responsibility you will have is paying your taxes. And taxes differ for every person basically, or for every company. If you don't have to pay taxes in Estonia, most likely you have to pay the taxes somewhere else. And let me maybe go into more details as best as I can, because I cannot emphasize that enough, that depending on your all of your company situation, your residency, how everything is set up, the taxes can be different, because all of the tax benefits that Jan talked about apply when you are actually doing the business in Estonia, and everything is connected to Estonia. But as we know, many of e-residents actually do the business outside of Estonia. They establish the company here, but maybe their clients are from Germany or some other country. So that's also quite useful information. So regarding taxes, they do have to be paid somewhere. For that, a really useful thing to do or know is what is your tax residency. If you're living and working from Latvia, but your company is in Estonia, then most likely you're a tax resident in Latvia. Which means that between Estonia and Latvia, there's a double taxation treaty, and some of the taxes are calculated that way. So if you pay something in Estonia, then some part might also be taxed there in Latvia, depending on the double taxation treaty. The other thing is that if, again, you do the business outside of Estonia, if you will have all of your services or goods are in Germany or France, then most likely, again, if you're doing it on a permanent basis, if it's a one-time thing, you sell something to Germany, then it's fine. But if you permanently sell something in Germany, France, Sweden, Italy, whatever country it might be, then those local countries where you're selling your goods or offering your services might consider your a permanent establishment to be graded there. If you will have a permanent establishment in another country, then that country will decide what kind of taxes you have to pay there. So again, with each country, it might be different. And Estonia really doesn't have any say in it, that even though the company is here in Estonia, if all of the activity takes place in another country, then that country will decide if you have a permanent establishment there and what will be your tax rate from their side. So I already talked about this permanent establishment, and this also comes back to, or circles back to, the Estonian corporate tax and all the taxes that we have and the benefits that we have. Is that if you want to know personally, if you want to proceed and open the company, then you would need to take a closer look at your taxation obligations. This includes this permanent establishment part, but also your personal tax residency as a private person. Because if you take the money out as dividends, you distribute the profit out, then you will most likely be taxed in a little bit in Estonia and also in Latvia. So that the corporate tax rate in Estonia is flat 20%. And as Jan mentioned, if you don't take the money out, if you reinvest it to grow the company, or you just keep it on the company's bank account, you don't do nothing with it, then the government will not touch that profit. So that income will stay on your company's bank account. But if you decide to distribute the profit out for the shareholders, then Estonian government will tax you 20% on that. And if you are an Estonian tax resident, then you do not need to pay this personal income tax on these dividends, because you already paid this 20% on the corporate tax, and it doesn't make sense to tax you double on that. But here's where maybe the double taxation treaty comes into play for you in Latvia, is that yes, you pay this 20% in Estonia, but now how Latvia will see your income coming from this Estonian company, because you would most likely be the tax resident of Latvia. If you're in some other country a tax resident, then we need to see look into the tax treaties between Estonia and that other country. So double taxation treaty will also always show how the taxes will be paid, and then you always have to consider that. So yeah, it's really important to look into that and not only think that if Estonia has this kind of tax system, then it always will apply for you. It depends on the details. But yeah, if you want to get the full benefit of Estonian tax system, then I recommend coming over the border and living here in Estonia, be a tax resident here. You can then operate your company here and get the full benefits of our tax system. So I think, I hope at least from the questions and answers, you will ask some questions about the taxes and how it will work for you. And maybe later you will email me and ask even more detailed questions, because yeah, it will take time to go over all of the details with each of any one of you. So I would want to just give some closing remarks about our services and how we can then help you to establish the company. So the next steps, if you are ready to proceed, you have think everything through, then apply for e-residency and collect the card from the closest embassy. If you are in Latvia, then that is in Riga. If you're somewhere else, then go check e-Residency's webpage. You can see the available pickup locations, because you do need it physically to actually open the company. You have to insert it into the computer, and then you can get the access to the digital services. With us, you can open the company in 1 day once you have the card. So that part will be actually the easiest part. Everything, the preparing and knowing the obligations after the company has been registered, that's the hard part, in my opinion, and that's what we should focus on. Once the company is opened, again, you can proceed with opening the business bank account. We usually recommend using online banks or fintech solutions, because it's, again, really easy online access for those accounts. As you are in Latvia, again, it's most likely that you can get the Swedbank or SEB bank account quite easily, because the information can be exchanged between the Estonian branches and Latvian branches. But yeah, they have the final say about that. So again, for opening the bank account, I also always recommend putting in basically your business plan, what you want to do, and then approach the bank, maybe even before the business has been opened, just to see what kind of feedback are you getting from the bank, and then acting on it, maybe just upgrading your ideas and giving better arguments why you want to have this Estonian bank account. And once the account is opened, with the fintech solution, basically it can take maximum 2 days to get the company running, and you can start invoicing your clients and bringing the money in. So these are the steps. And why choose us? The first and foremost thing is that when the client comes in, quite often we have standard services that we offer for everybody, and those are really transparent fees. There is nothing hidden in that. But if you have something interesting in mind, your structure is different, you have maybe multiple founders, different activities under one company, and then you might need something extra, then we will make you a custom offer. And again, it will not have any hidden fees. We will be thinking about everything, even the upcoming costs. So we would have everything up front, and you don't need to worry that there will be like some unexpected invoice that you didn't know that will be coming, because it's something additional we need to do. So that's our policy. Again, as Jan mentioned, Estonia itself is already a really good platform for diving into the Nordics or the Baltics, into Lithuania as well. So the culture and everything is quite connected. And in addition, if you go with us, you can also get the extra benefit that we actually have branches in Finland, Sweden, and Latvia and Lithuania as well. So if you need any expertise from those countries, then that's really good opportunity for you. Why it's really so fast with one office to open the company only one day is that we have this direct connection with business registry. And then quite recently, we also launched a new platform, which will be for all of our clients, and this will be actually your home for your business. So it's called My One Office Platform. Google it, you will find it. It will have everything from start to the beginning. So company registration itself, additionally a knowledge base for additional information about our services and some tax articles, legal articles that might be useful for you. Also everything that you need, address, a contact person, accounting, you can add directly on the platform. So we are trying to constantly upgrade it. The next upgrade will be translation and legal contract templates for our clients. And using the platform itself is free. Go ahead, register a user, try it out. If you have e-residency card, you can already start creating the company. You can open live chat and communicate in real time with our team. So really customer friendly approach there, I think. And just a small slide about the fees. The minimum fee to open the company, 555 euros, plus the VAT. Minimum cost for the annually to keeping the company, as I mentioned, it's the annual report and legal address that you need to have in Estonia or submit in Estonia. So here's the slide that highlights these minimum fees. If you need anything extra like accounting, go ahead and contact us. We will make you an offer, and then you can either agree or disagree. But the main thing is just to know what are your future obligations and fees involved with creating and managing the Estonian company. And other than that, I think Valdemars will give you also a lot of useful information how it works in practice, what are his most like where he struggled, what are the issues there might be, and maybe if there are something like that, I can give my insight into that, how it should have been solved or how it could have been solved. So anything you want Mike to ask, just go ahead, do it in questions and answers. And if you do not do it there, then write down my email. It's tonis.jogeva@oneoffice.co. It's completely Estonian name, so a little bit difficult to pronounce in English, but and probably in Latvian. So, but yeah, write it down and contact me if you have any questions. And thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tõnis, for a very good presentation on the legal side. Very short but precise. So now we would like to give the floor to Valdemars Predikis. So Valdemars is the one who has the first-hand experience and who you can really trust to give information that he knows. He knows how to run a company, how to grow a global company using the Estonian e-residency, and perhaps also what is the difference between Estonian and Latvian jurisdiction and doing business in Estonia and Latvia. So Valdemars, the floor is yours.
Yes, hi, Tere. Hello. Thank you, Jan, for introduction, and Tõnis also thank you for introduction and very valuable information. I think now I know everything about e-residency, and my presentation will be, I guess, more kind of sharing experience of practicalities and see see if that helps someone to make a decision as well. All right, my name is Valdemārs Brediķis. I'm entrepreneur, business angel, and also a fund manager, and also e-resident of Estonia, as mentioned before. I have education in business administration and international business. I've been on executive roles for about 20 years, and we have companies in 4 countries in Europe and Asia. Previously, I was involved with different service companies, and I've worked for United Nations development program. And during those 20 years, I've started several ventures, including globally recognized localization company Linearis Translations, which I'm representing today. You can see. But recently, I'm more focusing on startups and venture capital, and I also co-founded an acceleration fund, commercialization reactor fund, where we work with early stage deep tech teams, and we create, accelerate, and provide funding and investment for early stage startup teams. I'm an active innovation ecosystem community member involved in many activities, events, and also I'm a member of the board of Latvian Business Angel Network. I'm also representative of Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry to China, because we have office in China, and we've been helping almost everyone from Baltic states to work with China at some point. Well, but coming back to e-residency and Estonia, how I became an e-resident was that Linearis was growing fast, and we were opening up international markets. We already had an office in China, and we opened our branch in Estonia in 2012. As a result of our international expansion and cooperation with clients, in fact, we were kindly advised to have a local structure by one of our key account clients, who also had branches in all 3 Baltic states, and suggested that it would be much more convenient for the Estonian team to collaborate with our Estonian team if we would have one. And in fact, that was really instrumental suggestion, and we have learned that it is really a huge thing in Estonia. I'll come back to that later. Back in 2012, it was a bit different, and as far as I remember, e-residency was introduced a few years later, really in a way it is now. Frankly speaking, my first expectations were sort of a bit higher than the program would provide at the beginning, but most of the things had been tuned, and I think it's fantastic to have an opportunity to access all your data, submit documents and reports in one place and remotely, paperless. Well, you still need to play around and explore the system for a while before you understand how to navigate through many layers and integrations. On the other hand, it is great that you can access all possible things in one system. And also, this is just my guess, but I think it also contributes and improves public governance in terms of IT infrastructure, resource management and coordination, compliance, and integrity between different databases, as Jan also mentioned in his presentation about checking license plates on cars, insurance, medical data, and stuff like that. In my experience, there were different challenges with e-residency before but the most awkward thing we have experienced was that it was impossible to but that was some years ago. It was impossible to submit official documents in English, and the only way to do this was to have a sworn Estonian translator to translate and to sign it. For example, we had a case where we had to replace a representative of our Estonian company, and to do that we had to submit a certificate from Latvian National Register that proves the signature rights of the Latvian holding company. Latvian National Register don't provide certificates in Estonian, only in Latvian or English. But Estonian National Register don't accept certificates in English, only in Estonian. But not only in Estonian, only in Estonian if it's translated and signed by a sworn translator of Estonia. So we as a translation company couldn't translate it and submit it. So we had to find one of very few sworn Latvian Estonian translators. We found one in Valga. So we hit the bricks and went with the documents to have that last thing missing to submit to do the replacement of the representative person. But I believe that it's not a question anymore, and it's settled, and you can easily submit documents in English. Well, but anyway, being the first is always a challenge, and I appreciate what Estonia did with e-residency very much, and that is brave and that is very necessary. And a side note from me here is that my favorite personality from innovation ecosystem is Guy Kawasaki. He's one thing he says about innovation process is don't worry, be crappy. Guy Kawasaki has been behind marketing in companies like Apple in its early days when they shipped Macintoshes, and also behind many more IT startups and larger scale-ups like Google as well. By don't worry, be crappy, he means an innovator doesn't worry about shipping an innovative product with elements of crappiness in it if it's truly innovative. The first version of innovation is seldom perfect, and if a company or country, as Estonia in this case, waits until everything is perfect, it will never ship and the market will pass it by. So what Estonia did with e-residency was completely okay, and we can see that it is demanded and it make difference. I consider e-residency as a sort of global pilot project that showed it is possible, people want it, and the market is ready. Another thing Estonia did with e-residency is that it opened up the borders. Sorry, I forgot to switch slides. Yeah. So yes, another thing Estonia did with e-residency was it opened up the borders. Because before that, every country had its own regulatory framework and systems around it, and it led into extra effort, extra cost. Like in absurd case with Swan Translator. Currently, we are facing authentication systems and protocols that allow us to sign and process documents in electronic environment without physical need to travel and to work with different systems all around most of the countries. But Estonia were the ones to prove that it can work that way. And because we have business in all Baltic countries and beyond, it helps. It's about connectivity and making things faster, easier. This is how e-residency contributes to growing business internationally. And I think that is also expected key message from today's presentation. And while I maybe not the biggest fan of e-residency, and organizers might not invite me again to speak about e-residency. On the other hand, I have to admit that it was necessary, it is necessary, and it helps. And the most important is it created a concept of and proof concept of such a tool and such solution. And one thing I have to admit that Estonia is great in marketing as well. And here I'm a true fan of that. Well, how do I use e-residency? Of course, this is in management of linearis translations O. This is our Estonian branch. And I personally have two roles there. One is as a representative of a holding company in Latvia, and also I'm general manager of Estonian company, Linearis Translations O. This mostly involves signing documents and assigning reporting rights to accountant or executives, and basically those are easier operations. Also, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm active in startup ecosystem, and I've been always in good relationship with Estonian business angels from Estban. In some cases, we invest jointly through SPVs, that is special purpose vehicle, so-called syndicate companies. And if those SPVs are established in Estonia as Estonian legal entities, then this again requires the use of privileges of being e-resident. And coming back to daily operations with Linearis Translations O, I have to say that we learned that it is relatively easy to establish and run a company in Estonia, and we really took advantage of e-residency, maybe in some way, in an unexpected way. So we are one of the market leaders in the Baltic states, and on a daily basis we work with tons of different documents and texts. We help our clients to work with their tasks, challenges. We help them to be more productive. We use all the modern tools, starting from neural networks, artificial intelligence, machine translation, online different tools. I'm not going to go all over through this, but we employ more than 5,000 translators all over the planet, and we can deliver any combination of European and Asian languages, including combinations with Estonian languages and of course Latvian languages. And we are serving clients in Estonia. We have teams in Riga, Vilnius, and Beijing, and we have learned that we don't need a administrative team in Estonia. Again, because the same reason, the administrative tasks are manageable remotely thanks to e-residency, and we can work with clients in Estonia without having administrative staff there. So that's how we use advantage of e-residency in operations. So in a wrap up, let me just give you some of my key learnings from working in Estonia, or you can twist it in a way that this is how Latvians see business environment in Estonia as well. So I already told about example of taking advantage of e-residency as enabling you to work remotely. Also, one thing we learned, and that was already suggested at the beginning by our clients, that Estonians like to work with Estonians. And sometimes that can be a challenge. But then we learned that Russian-speaking community in Estonia can be an easier cooperation partner for non-Estonians, for foreigners as well. One management hint to those that are having teams in Estonia might agree that Estonians are pretty bold people, and they don't obey easily to regulations and stuff like that. So if you want to be successful and get things done in Estonia, you have somehow to sell your strategies and plans and ideas to the staff rather than to push them. And that is even more obvious comparing to any other countries we have experience with. And also, I personally always have problems with parking in the center of Tallinn. At least some time ago, as a foreigner, you couldn't do that easily. You couldn't pay for parking, even if you would like to do that. I always got tickets for that. But the good news is that once you, it takes time to establish a relationship with Estonians, and but once you created a relationship, you build your reputation, build your legacy, then it's a long-lasting relationship. So hope that was something useful, and if you feel that we can help with international trade, with China, and or with languages, of course, feel free to reach out to me or to Linearis, and enjoy e-residency.
Well, thank you, Voldemars. So this was a great presentation, and you can really see that that it covered both sides, both the positive and the room for improvement. But of course, what I liked about this is that Estonia is indeed the first to create e-residency, and we have the first mover advantage, and hopefully we will not lose it, because other countries are now also launching their own e-residency projects. Some of them are called exactly the same, some of them are called differently. But it will take time, of course, in the beginning to get it work really smoothly. And as Voldemar said, everyone who is innovating has to be bold, and in order to be successful along the way, there will be both successes and failures. So it's not possible to create something perfect in a day. But e-residency has been there for 6 years now, and hopefully it works. It works really in the way that it is supposed to work. And as Voldemar said, the main thing that it allows you to do is to work remotely, to cut the administrative tasks to a minimum. And if you have any administrative tasks, you can also do them remotely. So if before you had to perhaps indeed translate the documents, then, well, you have to keep in mind that e-residency also is a collaboration project between quite a lot of different government agencies in Estonia who had to adapt, and some of them in the beginning were probably they had to insist on for example the Estonian translations, but they adapted as time went on, and right now it is definitely possible also to submit official documents also in English with digital signature of an e-resident. Yes, I think that Valdemar's experience is, well, Valdemar said that he's not the biggest fan, but I think that Valdemar is still quite a good use case of e-residency. So there were still benefits quite well seen. So now I think that we don't have very many questions. Usually when we do such a webinar for people outside of the EU, then there are lots of questions about banking. So of course we can probably skip from there, and there will not be any questions about that. So not too many. Okay, so Q&A. Let's see what questions have been proposed to us. I see that Signe Miller has already answered some of the questions in written form. Maybe even I will start from the questions that Signe has answered. So I have my ID. I need more information to open my startup. So Signe proposed that one office can help to explain how to open a company and also help in the process of opening the company. I think that this is really the right and obvious answer, and we don't have to go very much deeper with that. So there is Daniel, who is asking, I am a professional trainer. I'm a personal trainer. I work basically online. Can I use Estonia opportunity? And Signe has answered really correctly that you need to register a company in Estonia and start doing business. So indeed, company in Estonia, you can run it remotely as a personal trainer who works online. It's a perfect tool. It makes it easier. Walters asked, could you give me information about support programs, incubators, financial support, and startup companies in Estonia? And I think that whereas Walter said that Signe can answer in Latvian, so she did, yes. So I'm not going to read the answer here. Signe, maybe you can actually say in 2 words about the support programs in Estonia available for startup companies.
Okay, yes, I put the link to Enterprise Estonia webpage where are section grants and services, which is one possibility to apply from different grant programs. About these business incubators and financial support, I don't know so much, but I guess that Startup Estonia is one of the first places to approach this. Maybe Jan, you know about yourself about these incubators.
Yes, if you're a startup, then it's a very good advice to start from Startup Estonia. This is an organization that helps all the Estonian startups, and anyone who is interested in the Estonian startup ecosystem can also turn to Startup Estonia. Juris is asking, can you please point to a good resource on double taxation treaty in English? So Tõnis has already given the link actually. So the link is available on the Estonian Tax and Border Guard Board website. So if you search for the double taxation treaty in English, Tax and Border Guard Board, then you can get it from there. So I think that Valdemar's is now in a bit of a hurry, and I will see if there are any questions to Valdemar's that we can quickly ask. But yes, of course, Valdemar's, if you need to leave, we can Waldemar, is there any question that you can see? You can see all the questions there.
Yes, I saw
Maybe
the questions.
you can choose some questions and answer from your experience actually yourself.
They were much very specific regarding taxing and the processing of documents. I don't think I'm the best person to answer those specific administrative questions.
Is there anything you can maybe add from your experience to these questions?
Everything is doable. You might need to play around with Google or with e-Residency platform, but you can find all answers there. If you have any specific questions to me, you can reach out afterwards to Linearis or to me, and then thank you for inviting me to share my experience. That was really surprise and really honor, and happy to help. Have a nice day.
Your business is indeed impressive, and I think that as one of the first e-residents, exactly the journey as one of the first movers also, it is very important how it's evolved from you, for you, how you saw how e-residency came from birth until now it's 6 years old, how that evolved. So your experience is really valuable. So I think that we will invite you again, definitely. So I'm sure that there are lots of opportunities to use your experience in the future also. And thank you so much, Waldemar, for your part. But we will go on answering questions. Thank you so much, Waldemar. All right. So thanks. Right. And Daniil Ross is also asking, can I have a contact to someone in order to help me to begin? So indeed, I think that both the e-residency team, so the email that was shown in the presentation, and by the way, the presentations will be also shared with you later. So I think that Signe has already consented, and I think that one office is also consents to the presentations being shared. So there are all the contacts. So in my presentation, in the end, there is an email address that of our support. They can definitely help you to begin, and as well, one office can help you to begin, and other companies on the marketplace are also there to help you to begin. So what else? There is someone who is actually not Latvian. Seems that Tebe is from South Africa. So, but I like Tebe's question, because actually Tebe is asking that we should make e-residency card to be available from South Africa, and it will be. So we have already made the decision to make also the e-residency card available from South Africa. Indeed, right now it is a very long way from South Africa in order to get your e-residency card.
Correct. Sorry, I just want to interrupt
yes,
you for a second. Just for information, that we recently also have received quite a lot of interest from South Africa. Don't know the reason for it. So yeah, I hope the e-residency team is handling that, and it's really interesting development, and really great that's happening. So definitely South Africa is something to consider.
We have now 6 new pickup locations that we are working on. So one of them is South Africa, and it will probably be open in Q2 of 2021. So probably before the middle of next year, we will have a pickup location in South Africa. We will also have one in Brazil, for example, because from Brazil, which is also an important market, it is also a very long way to go and pick up your card. So it will be, and we will have actually 5 new locations. So stay tuned.
And I will add one thing for Tebe. If you still are interested in opening a company, then there's an alternative, the old-fashioned way, in notary's office. So you still have the option to create the company and get all of the benefits. At the same time, you order this e-residency card, and if all the borders open up and you can actually go to the chosen pickup location, then pick up your e-residency card, and it's still usable with the company you already created in the notary's office. So there is some alternatives for you if you want to proceed.
That's right. So if you want to be a bit more quick with this process, so you can start exactly. You can start with one office, and they will find the solution how to start your company. And whenever you travel to a place where there is actually a pickup location, then you can choose any pickup location in the world. It doesn't have to be one in your own country. So this is a good comment. Thank you, Tõnis. So what else? Yuris is asking about tax residency. How can I pay myself salary? So this is a question I think also to Tõnis. So if I have my Estonian company, but my tax residency is in Latvia or another EU country, live there for 6+ months per year, that is a valid comment. How can I pay myself salary, and how should I pay taxes from salary? So Tõnis, maybe you can comment.
Yes, I didn't have that on the slides because salary usually is a topic that can brush off quite easily. So the general rule is that if you're a tax resident, you've been living 6+ months, as you said. So that's usually one of the requirements for getting the tax residency in any of the countries in EU. You have to live there actually. And if you have established the tax residency there and you receive your salary in that country, and actually all of your salary taxes are paid in that country. And the reasoning behind that is that you are using the social services of that country, the roads, the healthcare, whatever you might use there. So Estonia will not ask you to pay the salary taxes here because you will not have any physical connection as a private person here. So the rule is that you will pay the taxes. Let's say you live in France and you're a tax resident there, then you pay your salary taxes there, which in practice means that you would need someone with a local expertise to report your salary taxes or take care of them. If it's a country that has an easy system, then you can also do it yourself. But in the beginning, we always advise to maybe contact a professional in that country.
Mm-hmm. Very good. There is a question that is actually connected to that from Dina. Dina Karklina. Where could I find any official information on self-employed status and taxes in Estonia? Thank you in advance.
Maybe Jan, you can comment as well, but in our experience, self-employed companies or people, it's really, you can use e-residency to do that as well, as far as I know, but it's highly uncommon to go for such a setup because this will not be the limited liability company that we have mostly been talking about. It's a different structure. The taxation is different. Also, you have additional requirements. If I remember correctly, I think you have to have an address in Estonia, like as a private person. So you would need to be living here. If you want to learn more about this, we can do some research and give you the answers. But basically, if a client comes in with such a request, we usually recommend more doing a limited liability company because it's more transparent in regards of taxes. It's easier to register. You have less obligations and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, basically almost all of the e-resident companies are private limited companies in Estonia, and it is just so easy to run and manage private limited company that I think that there is no reason to make it a little bit more complicated and become self-employed in Estonia. Even if it is possible, then we recommend the private limited company usually. But of course, you can go for any type of company or NGO or other types of organizations and register them using your digital ID card of an e-resident, basically. So Martins is also asking, do I physically have to come to Tallinn to open a bank account? So I will say from my experience that if you want to open a bank account in a physical traditional bank, then yes, usually you should come to Tallinn, and most of the banks have this requirement. By law, it is possible actually to to also onboard clients for banks without seeing them face to face in the office. But the banks do require for you to come to Estonia. So, but maybe Tõnis can also comment how it is usually. So, fintech companies don't require that. Fintech accounts you can open online, but traditional banks, do they ask you to come? Or?
Yes, quite often they ask you to come pre-prepared with all of your plans that you have with your Estonian company. So often another requirement by them is that you should have at least some other connection than just a company with Estonia, which means maybe an employee here in Estonia. So in that case, you would be eligible for the account because the Estonian employee wants to get the payment from Estonian bank to their bank account in Estonia. So that simplifies the process in managing the company. Maybe you would want to have some partners or suppliers here. So all of this will help you. If we take now the traditional banks that we now have LHV, Luminor, Swedbank, SEB, then there's one Swedish new bank, Coop Bank, and a couple of smaller ones. Then of those in Latvia, I think you are most successful with SEB and Swedbank because they have branches there as well. But the other bank you can try to approach is LHV, because I know that the preliminary preparation for opening the company's account and just to be sure that you can get the account can be done online. And then the bank says that, okay, well, we accept your application, but now you have to visit one of our offices in Estonia. So it's not only that you have to come to Tallinn, maybe Pärnu is closer to you, or Tartu, or even in Valga. Not sure what banks now are represented in Valga. I think SEB and Swed definitely have their branches or offices there. So just choose the closest one, give them a visit and see what they answer you and how they want to proceed with you.
Good tips. Good tips. Thank you, Tõnis. So yeah, people are asking if presentations will be shared in PDF form. So yes, I think that we will write a follow-up email to you and share the presentations, and also we can share the recording of this webinar so that you can check some points that you missed later. Laura is asking, am I allowed to use e-residency with TransferWise? So definitely, yeah, TransferWise is a partner of e-residency officially. So yes, you can, and they are definitely making their services also quite tailor-made for e-resident use. So fintech companies are really making an effort to make good services for online use, and especially taking into consideration the needs of e-residents. Maybe Tõnis has also experience with TransferWise.
Yeah, I don't know how okay it is to say that, but TransferWise is one of the most used banking solution with our clients, because the opening the account is really easy, really fast. They do your identification really quickly, just a simple photo of your ID with your phone, upload it, and it's already basically approved. If you want to do a transaction, then they will ask additional information, and maybe that will take, I don't know, 24 hours, 48 hours to be approved. And then they will release the transaction. And once that first step is done, then all of the additional next transactions are easy and quick. If you don't exceed their like large transaction amounts, then again, you will probably need to fill or give additional information, but they work really fast. Their transaction fees, in my opinion, are really small, even compared to traditional banks. And this is really, if some clients usually are afraid of these fintech solutions, then I would consider to think otherwise, because their transaction fees are so much smaller. Many of them, including TransferWise, allow multiple accounts in multiple currencies. Which means that you don't lose money on currency exchange and so on. So you can collect payments in so many different currencies. It's just really useful. Just a heads up that maybe you have some kind of activity that's not supported by them. Always makes sense to look into that.
Very good feedback. Yeah, first-hand experience also as a service provider who has integrated TransferWise into your value proposition. So, and I think that Martin's question, do I have to pay monthly fee if there are no sales and no expenses? Probably it also applies to the one-office fees or service provider fees.
Yeah, probably. There are different things to consider. For example, we usually ask the client to pay the recurring services for the whole year. So, but some service providers I know ask for those kind of things on a monthly basis. So it depends. You can also agree with us to pay on a monthly basis. So it comes from the agreement that you have with your service provider. So as I mentioned, there is two things that are absolutely obligational. That is keeping your address in Estonia. So some service providers might issue invoices every month to keep it upgraded or updated. And the other thing is the annual report, which you can use any accounting firm. So on a monthly basis, other than that, you don't have any obligations, but you can always choose to have a dedicated accountant to keep all of the financials up to date.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there is one last question from Dovlet, who is not, as I understand, the citizen of Latvia, but Dovlet lives in Latvia with a temporary residence permit. So should people with a temporary residence permit in Latvia get the permit in Latvian Migration Service or any other Latvian government organization for the opening of a company in Estonia? So from my side, I think that the correct answer is that you don't have to ask for permit to open an Estonian company from the Latvian government. I'm pretty sure about that, but I think that also Signe, before we finish, can you maybe comment on that? And what else would you like to add from your side, from the embassy side, to finish off the webinar's questions and answers?
Yes, regarding this question about temporary residents, if they want to open company in Estonia, so no problem. E-Residency just provides this, and it's not connected with Latvian institutions. And I'm very happy that there is such a big interest of doing business in Estonia, opening up new companies, and yeah, or even just to become an e-resident and then in next steps thinking about these companies. I think that also that e-residency webpage is very good resource to go more deeply about questions that maybe you are interested. And in this part marketplace, you can see the service providers, you can ask, and I think this is good example that these service providers have the most appropriate answers because it's daily day activities for them. Of course, the embassy is also open and welcome to receive your questions, and we try to help if we can, and we try to connect with other associations and institutions in Estonia to do this business easier.
Exactly. So yeah, so the embassy is there to support you, and e-residency is a good way for you to run both a remote business as well as a business physically located in Estonia. Why not? So first you can start off remotely, but then find your partners in Estonia and establish a physical company also for, why not, for example, the Scandinavian markets. But I think that this webinar has been quite successful, and in order not to bore you with more than 2 hours, I think that maybe some last words also to Tõnis.
Yes, thank you for that. I did want to mention something, and this is just general information for anybody who's listening. Valdemar mentioned it about Russian speaking and Estonian and this kind of thing. So if you need your service provider to communicate in another language, be it even in Latvian. You can send the inquiry in Latvian. Maybe they have someone who knows that language. We personally have Russian-speaking personnel, so that's also fine. Whoever you might contact, if you feel that English language is a barrier, try another language. Possibly you will still find somebody who can work with you and help you through this.
Excellent. Thank you, Tõnis. Thank you, Signe. And well, big thanks go to also Valdemars and Ambassador Arti Hilpus. But we will finish this webinar now, and everyone is very welcome to contact any of us for any questions. And yes, we can see Ambassador Arti Hilpus also here. Maybe Ambassador wants to say also a couple of words for the ending of this webinar.
Thank you very much for kindly offering the floor once again. Actually, I was not preparing for some final word here, but I still think that it is a good beginning for similar exchange in the future, and we all know that it can be very well prepared in internet and in web conference, but the quality is simply different when people can meet from face to face. And I'm very hopeful that next time we can continue the practice in physical format, and then also learn more about each other and have more interaction between the individual participants. But this is not to say that such a web exchange was not useful. It definitely was, and I was also following with big interest the presentations, and also got some additional information which I did not know exactly myself before. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hilpus. And so, yes, more than 100 people actually registered for this webinar. I think that over 50 people were here at some point. And so this is the amount of people that we were hoping to see physically in Riga. But now that the borders are still suspended, we had to postpone this physical event. But hope you liked our webinar, and stay tuned for more, and keep in touch. Thank you so much.